Howdy, beloved. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a little disheartened right now. I have filmed this video now twice. The first time I stopped because it was 25 minutes long, and I hadn't talked about everything yet, and I was like, well, that's way too long. So then I recorded it a second time, and it was 42 minutes long. But when I set my camera back up, the angle was really weird, and I looked like all hunchback, and you could see my crotch. I'm wearing pants, but it still was just not like a good look. So, third time's the charm, baby. Let's get back into it. Just give you a little reading update. I'm gonna give you kind of an update as to me kind of breaking into nonfiction books, and then I will also answer your questions that you asked me on my recent community post. So let's get into it. So like 3 days after I made my last bi-weekly reading update video, I finished The Orchard Keeper by Cormac McCarthy. I wouldn't rank this one too highly on his works. It's not that it's bad, it's just, I mean, when you have such a bibliography like him, you can definitely tell that this was like his first novel. And it's not bad. The language is beautiful, as you would probably expect from someone of McCarthy's caliber. But yeah, really interesting book, really good. I have to give this back to my buddy Brian. I keep forgetting to bring it to church with me to give it back to you. So if you watch this, I will be returning this to you shortly. And then last time we spoke, at least in my top 10 video, I had mentioned I was reading William Gass's Abendsetter's Luck. Now, this book is incredible. However, it's just so confusing, and it's a little tough to get through. So I figured, this is something I gotta just come to when I'm feeling like the call to it. Like, it's kind of hard to just sit there and read it because it's very stream of consciousness. You're in the mind of this guy, the Reverend Jethro Ferber. And he is just descending down pathways that he probably should not be descending down as a reverend. So, yeah, so, it's just, it's a little challenging, I mean, Gass that's kind of just how he is, like I'd read The Pedersen Kid, which was a short story by him, and like the last, quarter of that short story, made like no sense to me. It just kind of drifts off into something, entirely new. Which is not bad. I'm fine reading books that I don't understand, but sometimes it's just, if I'm not feeling called to it in the moment because I know what I'm getting into, I don't want to make myself, force myself to read something like this. So returning to this when I feel like it. So we have that as well. So then, obviously because of that, I'm just back to reading Septology again. I am about halfway through this book, which makes me really sad. I don't want it to end, but it's just incredible, and the contrast between Isles and I don't know if it's Isle, Alze, Alze, If you are from Norway, please describe to me how to pronounce that, or if you are just familiar, please. It's just so interesting seeing the dichotomy between these two people who are exactly the same, but obviously their lives have taken different turns and points here and there. And I think this book, from what I know of Jan Fosse, is that this book is probably him just reconciling with his own life, and even insofar as him having long hair. I know that sounds silly, but it's like, if you ever seen a picture of him, he wears his hair in a ponytail and everything. But I think it's him reconciling with how he is now, with who he used to be, between these two characters who are almost the same. And as I just continue reading this, I keep talking to my wife, I want to start oil painting. I'm not much of an artist, though I used to do graffiti when I was younger. I'm not much of an artist in that sense, but as I keep reading this, I'm it's not nearly the same. But I've painted a lot of walls in my life. I've painted a lot of houses in my life, so I'm comfortable with a paintbrush, and I'm I wonder if I could, maybe translate that practice onto a canvas and maybe draw pictures of trees that don't look so terrible. But yeah, it's just an incredible book. When I finish this, I might make a whole video about it. But truth be told, the video will probably be full of spoilers because I can't not talk about what I appreciate in this book or in a lot of books without giving away kind of things that readers might want to be left out on prior to reading. So Septology, I am loving this so much. Despite the fact I'm loving it so much, though, it has taken a back seat the past few days because I am reading Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. Almost said 50s. It is so funny. I don't know if you guys know who Kyle Gordon is. He's kind of like a internet comedian. He does skits and stuff. He makes fun of nonfiction book titles all the time because they always have these little subtitles, and his videos on it are they're pretty funny because it's true. But I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the channel. I love learning about cults. The whole idea of a cult is so fascinating and strange to me. Actually, I guess I wouldn't say it's strange to me because I kind of understand why cults happen in some sense, at least what we know. People feel lost. They need connection. We as humans are. We have a spiritual aspect to ourselves, whether you want to admit it or not. And sometimes people just get foiled into believing foolish and downright terrible things. Anyways, Charles Manson, founder of the Family is what they called it, which was just a small nomadic cult back in the 70s and 60s. And he was responsible for the Sharon Tate murders and a few others. But this author, Tom O'Neill, was requested to make a piece for a magazine for the 30th year anniversary of the Charles Manson Sharon Tate killings. And so he just was like, all right, well, I want to kind of approach this from a new angle. And then just 20 years later, the publication was defunct and he had not written anything for what he was supposed to write for it. So and it's just because he just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's we've been sold a narrative as well as kind of a bill of false goods about this whole story. And the way he presents it too is just his findings, conversations he's had with people, things he's read about. And he's getting in touch with everyone who surrounded Sharon Tate and her circle, and people who surrounded Manson and his circle, and how much overlap there was truly there between Manson and people in Hollywood and the music industry at the time. I've been wanting to read this book for so long. I mean, you see the spine, it's beautiful, beautiful red and white, the greatest hockey team ever known to man, the Red Wings. You see this, and it's very appealing, and prior to me even being a reader, when I'd go into bookstores, I'd always look at this one. So, but it's kind of a fat book. It's a little over 500 pages. So, but now I'm I am a reader, so I'm gonna read it, and it's been fantastic so far. So that gets me into my next point, which is I think I need to start reading more nonfiction. Nonfiction is a little tricky because most of the time, nonfiction is just a information dump, and it's hard to engage with when it's just here is a list of things happening and stuff like that. But what Tom O'Neill has done in this book, which I love, is it's kind of narrative focused. So we are literally following him from the time he started this investigation by himself up until he eventually writes the book. That's the way it's kind of playing out. And there are other authors too, I read The Road to Jonestown by Jeff Green, which is another fantastic example if you are interested at all in the Jonestown cult, where it plays out more narratively in a sense, while you're still getting all the information. It's just the way the book is set up and written makes it engaging to read. And also the Wager by David Gran was another one where it's very much narrative driven, but you are still getting all the information that you kind of need and are looking for in a nonfiction book. So that being said, I have 3 nonfiction books. I have more, but like I said, this video is 40 minutes prior to remaking it now, and I don't want to go that far again. So I picked 3 that are very interesting. that I will hopefully be adding within my reading list. So first up we have, I also bought this before I was a reader, we have The Lucifer Effect, How Good People Turn Evil by Dr. Philip Zimbardo. So if you don't know, Zimbardo was the man who conducted the Stanford prison experiments back in, I think, 75? I don't know exactly when he conducted, or 71. So again, kind of same time as the Charles Manson stuff. And basically he took college students, made a fake prison, made some of the college students like prison guards and the other ones prisoners. And what happened was this 3-week long experiment only lasted like 6 days, I think, before he had to call it off. It just spiraled into chaos almost immediately. And now I will put a caveat here. That is kind of the story that has been told. I know in recent years his publication of findings on this has been questioned quite a lot. Apparently people have come out and said like, oh well, he goaded he goaded the like policemen or the prison guards to be more aggressive and stuff like that. So there is a question about how legitimate his findings in his research was. However, I know from having read some of this book years and years and years ago that there are other incidents in the real world where he saw the same kind of things happening. Aru Ghab, which was a terrible moment in Iraq war history that the U.S. perpetrated on Iraqi prisoners. That was something that kind of prefaces this whole book, where he's like, I witnessed this happen in Iraq. Not witnessed it, but, like saw it happen and was like, holy moly, like this is actually a playing out of what I experimented with in the 1971. And I actually think the Stanford prison experiments were the reason that psychologists could no longer experiment on humans. I think this was the one that like finally closed it down, because I think not too long prior there was the Millian experiment, where it's like they had to like tase somebody for like getting questions wrong and stuff like that. That's another interesting one to look into. Anyways, I'm gonna make the video 40 minutes again. Holy moly! All right, Lucifer Effect. I guess it's Brent Stryker talks a lot, but it's like, geez, dude, I feel so bad. I feel like I am not. It's whatever. It's cool. We're hanging out. We're gonna have a good time talking about books. So then next up we have Kill Anything That Moves. The Real American War in Vietnam. I bought this book in February of this year, hoping that it could help pull me out of a reading slump that I was in. It didn't. I read, I did read some like 40-something pages, and even in those 40-something pages, I mean, this isn't a fat book at all. I mean, it's less than 300 pages, then like the rest of it is just notes. But it's just like, it throws you right in there where it's like, hey, like the United States of America considered our success in Vietnam with how many bodies we were able to produce. And then also we incentivized soldiers to kill as many people as they could so they could get trips to the beach or time off or alcohol. So, I mean, it's terrible. I think I've talked about it before, but every man, I think, has like their war, if you will. So things that they are like a time period war that they will kind of obsess over. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but I feel like all my guy friends and every man I think I've ever known, if you ask them about stuff like that, they will be like, oh yeah, I love learning about that stuff. And most of the time it's World War II, but I think the Vietnam War is mine, because there is no way to paint America in a good light. And it's not that I hate America or anything, but I think that's the reason it's not talked about, is because this was just a huge, disgusting fumble of an intervention on America's behalf. But also, like kind of 60s and 70s, terrible, terrible years, but I'm still really interested in them. So there we go. And then next up, obviously, the Gulag Archipelago, abridged by Solzhenitsyn. So I won't say too much on this. I own the first whole volume, but from my research, I found that Solzhenitsyn is very repetitive, and his books are very drawn out, the 3 normal volumes, and that they are just incredibly tough to read. So while I was looking into it more, I realized that the abridged version, it says authorized by the author. So I think that lends a lot of credence to it, where Solzhenitsyn is like, hey, like, you did a solid enough job into one volume that I am, like, giving it my seal of approval, that this gets across all the things that are, like, necessary about the work and everything. So, yeah, I'm excited and not excited to read this. Jordan Peterson, say what you will about him. I mean, I'm not a fan of him anymore, but back when he was, like, first starting out, he's a pretty cool dude. But he said that this whole series is like a long silent scream. And I think just knowing, like, what I know about the books, like, I don't think it could be described in any other way. So, yeah, I'm going to have to just man up and read this one day. So, yeah, okay. Well, there's 3 nonfiction reads. All right, I think I'm making pretty good time. Video's only 17 minutes now, so hopefully I will also make good time on reading these questions here. So, friend of the channel, Holistic Librarian. I say friend of the channel because she comments quite often. Asked me 2 questions, which I have written down in this book because I can't use my phone right now because I'm recording. What are your favorite books related to Eastern Orthodoxy, or some that I would recommend? So, right off the bat, I would say, here, let me use a demonstration here. This is my newest icon, the new choir of Athonite Fathers. My goal with buying Orthodox icons is that, of saints at least, is that I want to have read and spent time with the saints prior to buying their icons. Now, that's not going to be the case every single time. Like St. Longius has no, like, written works or anything like that. I don't think St. Photius has any either. Maybe he does. I don't know. But anyways, this one killed three birds with one stone. So we got this one. And this first one is St. Porphyrios. I love him. And his book, Wounded by Love, which is right here, is just incredible. I still need to finish it, but I've read quite a bit of it. And the first half tells you his life story. And then the second half is kind of his, not opinions, I should say, but it's broken up into sections where it's like, well, here's what he had to say about, like, the church. Here's what he had to say about, like, prayer. Here's what he had to say about the Jesus prayer, and things like that. And reading his, like, these excerpts from his writings, it feels like you are talking with him. It's incredible. And I've been so grateful for this book. My wife loves this book too. She loves when I read it to her. She finds it very edifying. And every other person I know who has read this book finds it just as edifying. So, Wounded by Love, the life and wisdom of St. Porphyrios. Definitely recommend you check that one out. And then up here we have St. Paisios. I have not actually read any books about St. Paisios. However, there's a YouTube channel, I'll link it down below, called Athonite Audio. And I believe it's monks and nuns reading Orthodox books. And they, obviously, because he's such a powerhouse of a saint, they read a lot of St. Porphyrios. St. Paisios on there. So he is just incredible. Like, literally anything you have a question about in modern times, he has an answer for. And just such an incredible example of what it's like to live in the grace of Christ constantly. And then here we have St. Joseph the Hesychast, who is kind of the person who, in a sense, revived the Jesus prayer. He really was like, or hesychasm in a sense too, which is just the act of seeking silence and stillness to pray and everything. And I have another book down here. Oh, there goes that one. I have another book down here, Monastic Wisdom, the letters of St. Joseph the Hesychast. And what's interesting about this one, again, is that these are just letters he wrote to fellow monastics or people who inquired to him and things like that. And they come to him with their struggles. And he is just offering advice from the heart, or saying, this is what I have dealt with and this is how I have dealt with it, and things like that. So it's nice to just pop in here every now and again and just read something so edifying and good. And St. Joseph, this is not a knock on him, never past the 3rd grade, so his language is so accessible and easy. Like, he writes it out so easy, and he's very to the point about things, and I really appreciate that. Just such a learned and beloved person. Yeah, so that is another one. Unfortunately, I've not read anything from St. Ephrem, but I'm sure I will encounter him soon. So, I'm done with my little presentation of my new icon. Another book that I loved that really stuck with me because it really affected me from a personal stance was Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future by Father Seraphim Rose, who, Lord willing, will be canonized really soon. It'd be cool to see that in my lifetime. Just what a blessed man that he was. But it's a very prophetic book written in the 70s. He's talking about things like the charismatic movement, kind of what is happening within like the monastic systems, and then what's happening in the world at large, and the rise of UFO sightings, and how all these things are distractions or will lead us to prelest, which is like the Orthodox word for like spiritual delusion. And that one hit home with me because I had grown up in a lot of the charismatic kind of circles and have experienced a lot of these things firsthand. And not that these people don't mean well. This is not a judgment against them, but he just comes out and is like, a lot of these things that these people are doing is very shamanistic in its practice. And that was terrifying because it's like, I've done all those things, and obviously if you are ignorant to it and you never find it out, it's not like you're just going to hell. God always condescends to where we are, and he is merciful and understanding. And so, yeah, that book just really hit me so hard. So those are some recommendations for you. Lord have mercy. I am talking so much. It's okay. And you also asked, what were some favorite or memorable books from my childhood? Really the only one of note would be The Hobbit. I know I talked about it, but it's like when I was a kid, I was reading more comics than anything. I read a lot of Calvin and Hobbes, which I actually just got another book of Calvin and Hobbes because I don't own any anymore. And I think Calvin and Hobbes is just like, it's so blessed and now, I don't know if blessed is the word. It's so good in its way that it just shows you the importance of like the imagination and the innocence of childhood, and the connection. I mean, like he's got like this imagination where Hobbes, his stuffed tiger, is real and hangs out with him, and that's something I think is relatable for most people. And then I read like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and stuff like that, and The Hunger Games and stuff like that. So thank you for your questions. Prill Jazz Atlanta 5070 asked, do you play hockey? If so, is there a classic work of literature that somehow fits the feeling of playing hockey, or you have in your mind when you're watching or playing? I don't know why anyone would think I would play hockey at all. I mean, I don't get why anyone would think I enjoy hockey in the first place. Like, that's quite the assumption. Is this funny? Is this bit gonna land? Is this funny? I don't know. Anyways, I should be wearing this actually. It is game day for the Red Wings. Do I play hockey? Like, not in any real sense. I live like 3 blocks away from a lake that freezes every winter. So ever since I got into hockey a few years ago, since I've bought skates and gloves and everything, and every winter I'll go out there with my brother and his family and my wife, and we'll all, we'll clear a spot on the ice and shoot some pucks off, and do little scrimmages and everything. And that's about the extent of it. I don't have time or energy to join a beer league because, I work. Yeah, not that people in beer leagues don't work, but it's just like I can't afford to be playing games that start at 11 p.m. at an ice rink that's like 40 minutes from my house. You know what I'm saying? I would like to. It'd be cool to experience that for sure. But yeah, that's my extent of playing hockey. And is there a classic work of literature that communicates the feeling of hockey? I've seen your comments before, so you've already read it, and I'd say Crime and Punishment is like the only thing because it is exciting. A lot of classic works are not crazy exciting in my eyes, not to the level hockey is. Like, hockey is just so nonstop, and it's so surprising in so many ways. I like to call hockey stupid because it's like, a lot of stupid things do happen in hockey, kind of like how, rookies always score their first goals on their first games against the Red Wings. It's inevitable. Anytime there's a new rookie, it's like, all right, we're already down a point, and the game hasn't even started. So it's things like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry I can't really direct you. Maybe like the Count of Monte Cristo, from what I hear, for being a classic. People rave about how exciting and thrilling it is, So maybe that's another one to check out. But yeah, that's kind of it, Pop asked, how do you deal with book FOMO? Do you read one book or read multiple at one time? So I'm kind of trying to get into reading more than one book at a time, just so that way I have more options to read, because sometimes like I'll be enjoying a book, but I'm not feeling like led to read it. So when that happens, I want to have a backup that it's like, all right, well, if I'm not interested in that, like my main read, I will, go back and read something else. Because I do want to spend most of my time reading, at most of my free time at the very least, because it's like, I think it's better than me like playing video games or sitting on my phone and stuff like that. How do I deal with book FOMO? I just am at peace with the fact that it's like, I will not read everything ever, and that's okay. I will not know every single book that has ever been written ever, and that's okay. But I think this kind of goes into my moodiness as a reader. Like last year, I read a lot of works that I just thought were just not like good in any sense. Like they were like fine, but I think it's kind of what helped me stumble into a reading slump at the start of this year. Just reading so many like mediocre things last year, where now I feel like I've honed my taste to kind of know exactly what I'm looking for in a book, and whether that be like transformative or just anything that kind of gets the wheels in my head working, is something I want to read, and even from a biblical perspective too, like St. James tells us like, hey, like it is foolish to count on tomorrow. Not exactly that, maybe I'll put the actual verse up here, but just saying like, hey, like can't take days for granted. So it's like, all right, so if that's the case, then I always just want to be reading something that I feel like is actively helping me restructure my life and maybe love people more or love Christ more, So that's something where it's like, if I'm not instantly feeling it in a book, if I'm not feeling that it's providing me like nutrients in any sense, I will put it down. So, and the last one, we have Tyler Ferguson asking, what genres of music do you find most enjoyable? You definitely seem like an old soul. And have a Western-inspired aesthetic, so I was gonna guess you like some good old classic country. P.S. The new Waylon Jennings album is a must-listen. Really enjoy the content. You've introduced me to Dostoevsky. Going to purchase my first Young Fosse book soon. Well, I'm happy I was able to introduce you to Dostoevsky. I hope that your reading of him is as fruitful and edifying as it has been for me. Young Fosse, just persevere. It's different. It's a little difficult to sit with him for a long time, but once you kind of like grow in your appreciation for him, you can just flow through his prose like wine or like water, So what genres of music do I like? Well, I think the two most consistent genres the past few years have been one, breakcore, which is a subgenre of drum and bass, where the way drum and bass is made is you have like these drum fills from old jazz music, and you kind of like loop that, and then you do like cool electronic stuff. Well, breakcore is you take those samples, so you take the samples and you cut out the different sections where like you have the snare here or the cymbal here, and you restructure it. It's actually incredibly technical, to be completely honest. Like the timing's really weird. I almost like draw a comparison to jazz, because jazz is kind of the same way, where it's like the timing is difficult. It's chaos, but it's like controlled in a very certain way. And so like I've been listening to breakcore for so long, and then I started getting into jazz a couple of years ago too. And it just made sense, because it was like, this is kind of the same thing, It's very weird, different. And then the other one would probably be like, I think it's post-pop or like post-synth dark wave or whatever. I have no idea how to describe it, but groups like Molchat Doma, Russian, I love them. Like Casket Cassette, Kill Computer, or Computer Kill. it's kind of like these more like niche, like dark wave, where it's like very much the opposite of what I was just talking about, where it's very simple riffs, very simple bass, very simple drum patterns, and then you kind of sing like as if you're doing like Gregorian chants or something, you know. That stuff is really cool. I think it's fun. I like how simple it is, and it's very dancey some of the time too. But I do love country. When I say country, I mean I like Waylon Jennings. You know, I love like Merrill Haggard, all those kind of guys, Johnny Paycheck and stuff like that. But I've kind of like worn them out in my own listening experience. So the only country I really listen to now is probably like between 3 artists, which is like Colter Wall, Marty Robbins, and Blaze Foley. Blaze Foley is incredible. I love him. I've liked him for a long time, and I like his story too. Like, he's just this guy that lived in a shack, and like no one knew who he was. And then I think his daughter or one of his friends like found all these cassettes in this old house, and like started, you know, like producing and releasing them after he had been murdered, which is unfortunate. In someone's house. And so I love Blaze Foley. In fact, what I was playing at the beginning of this video was kind of a riff on his song I Should Have Been Home with You, which is a classic. And then Marty Robbins, obviously, you know, he made I don't call it country songs, because like trailblazing songs or cowboying songs, you know, where he's talking about actually being out there, where, you know, like Waylon Jennings or Merrill Haggard is more like the honky-tonk kind of guys, where they are you know, like, oh, I was in the bar, you know, or I'm doing this and that, you know, and it's not that they're bad, but when I listen to the country music, I like the feeling of being transported to the country, and Marty Robbins does that excellently, and so does Colter Wall. I actually had the pleasure of seeing Colter Wall a couple of years ago with my buddy and his parents, and that was a really good show. Played a lot of good songs, and Colter Wall even, like, makes me think of the Border Trilogy, to be honest, because I had like discovered Colter at the same time I was reading the Border Trilogy, and his song Evangelina constantly just reminds me of All the Pretty Horses, and every time I hear it I think about, like, you know, it's like the same exact thing almost in the song in the book. So yeah, but then other than that, I kind of listen to everything. I'm listening to a lot of electronic music right now. Oh, I didn't even mention it. I love Russian Orthodox hymns a lot. It kind of sucks that I don't know what they're saying, but man, the people in Russia got good vocal cords, you know, and I like that. And they got nice churches with good acoustics to sing them in. So yeah. Alrighty, beloved, I love you. Thank you for stopping by on the weekly, bi-weekly updates of my reading life and some other fun things as well. Yeah, I hope you have a blessed day. Today is Saturday, a good day off. And I hope you guys have a safe return to the week, and go to church tomorrow. Okay. I love you. We will see you in the next book, next video.